Hello everyone, this is Bill Griffin. Welcome to the Different Take podcast. Today I want to talk about how I think we're in the last stages of wokeism and what the term stop hate really means, what that slogan means. So I'll start with this video of Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, addressing Parliament. This is in February 2022, and he's addressing Parliament over the issue of the trucks that were parked in Ottawa, the capital, and were protesting. So this is what he's talking about.
Mr. Speaker, Conservative Party members can stand with people who wave swastikas. They can stand with people who wave the Confederate flag.
So there was someone at these protests that was carrying a flag and their faces covered. It might have been more than one person that was doing this, but I'm only aware of one, and they have a flag that has a swastika on it. So Justin Trudeau, and this is common practice, is to affiliate the protesters with not only protesters with the swastika, but also the people that have supported the truckers and the protesters. So anyone that's against him on their protesting the vaccine mandates and other government mandates that they've had in Canada for a couple of years, and they're protesting this, and he is determined to use wokeism, because he's very woke, to crush these people and set an example so that if you cross him or the government or their policies, that you will get arrested. It's not good enough just to remove their trucks, but to stop the protest by arresting, freezing their bank accounts, freezing the bank accounts of people that supported the protesters. This is a headline. Typical media is complicit in the very left-wing media in Canada, and they're complicit in supporting Justin Trudeau in this. So this says the Ottawa Protest was a shameful, embarrassing, pointless display of privilege. And there again, this article does take my word for it. None of these articles will say who this protester is. They'll claim that really doesn't matter who the person with the flag with the swastika is. They will claim that that's immaterial, that deceit doesn't matter. Some are the people that defend Jussie Smollett and the ruse that he pulled on everyone. There's also a tweet, February 17th. Canada condemns Cuba's harsh sentencing following the July 2021 protest. Canada strongly advocates for freedom of expression and the right to peaceful assembly free from intimidation. We stand with the people of Cuba in their aspiration for democracy. So what you have here is complete, total opposite in Ottawa, Canada. It's not enough just to stop the people from protesting, but to crush them, damage their way to make a living, arrest them. The police were kind of rough with these people. They use pepper spray. They also use horses. And I understand at least one person was trampled on with a horse. That's my understanding. The point is, anyone that protests are fine as long as it's the correct protest. So that's the way that's going to work with Justin Trudeau. I don't think this is going to work out. I think that people are going to vote in a new government, and this will be the sort of the end phase of wokeism, because it's not what it appears to be. And I'm going to show you some examples of that. So this is from WSB television in Atlanta, Georgia. This is a report that they did. Before I show you this video, I'd just like to say that personally, I have an aversion, and I always have had an aversion to graffiti. I think it's very disrespectful. You're causing someone else to correct a problem. It's very selfish to put a message on property that you don't own. In fact, I don't recall an incident where, I'm not trying to be pious, but where I drew some sort of graffiti on property that I actually owned. I guess that may not be graffiti, I'm not sure, but a lot of people do this. The graffiti is quite, it's everywhere. It's been everywhere for a very long time. I just have a aversion to it, but watch this and then we'll talk about it.
The bull is asking parents for help after anti-Semitic graffiti was found at a second Cobb County school. Lassiter High School principals released this statement. It reads in part, "When hate and ignorance surface in our school, we ask that parents engage in meaningful conversations and dialogue with your children." Now, the incident at Lassiter follows a similar one at Pope High School, and there a student is accused of posting this disturbing image online. It's two swastikas and the phrase "Hail Hitler" on a bathroom wall. The Jewish community is now pushing for a tough stance when the Cobb County School Board meets on September 23rd.
So first of all, my reaction to this was a teenager drawing graffiti, and they pick the worst symbol that you could pick from, political symbol, that is. I don't really understand why this was on the news or why anybody's really talking about it. It seems to me that would just encourage other people to do similar things. But the message that I get from the principal, and also the fact that the WSB decided to air this, was that they're trying to stop hate. Well, let's think about stop hate, a concept, which is also a slogan. How do you stop people from having an intense dislike of something? How do you stop that? Society is supposed to stop this. It seems to me this is a fool's errand. You can't control thoughts of other people. You can't do that. I don't know why you would want to do that. It's impossible, or want to try to do that, because it is impossible. You can't do that. But what stop hate, the underlying meaning is, if you don't agree with me, you shut up. That's when I hear stop hate, I really think the undertone is to shut up. So this principal statement is in line with, we must stop hate, and the parents need to get involved in this. And I don't know how a parent is going to tell a child that they can control how other people think. You know, we all disagree, or almost everyone disagrees with the idea of using you putting a swastika on anything, because what it represents is millions of people dying and suffering. There's this condemnation that happens that really doesn't really mean anything when people do that. It seems there's nothing wrong with speaking out against it if you're asked, but I don't understand why this story was aired to start with, because it's graffiti on a wall. It's you see it everywhere. Well, anyway, this is the next example I have about this stop hate business and how it's become so prominent in our culture. So this is the Tulsa World headline. There is bigoted vandalism must not represent Oklahoma. So this is an editorial that was written regarding some graffiti, some messages scrawled in various places, a couple of different places, Democrat Party headquarters. Sometimes it's kind of an old trick, Jussie Smollett again, that the person that does this may actually be doing this to get sympathy for the organization that they support. I don't know that happened in this case, but neither does this editorial to claim that did not happen either. If you go down further in this story, it explains sort of the facts. There's a line, and it says, there is no place in American society for these thick-headed extremists. Again, the swastika was part of the graffiti. Norman police arrested a woman they allege is responsible for the racist vandalism in Oklahoma City and Norman. The arrest made Thursday will hopefully put an end to this string of hateful incidents. This occurred in April of 2019. They write this, and on its face, it seems to be innocent enough, but when you read this literally, this person that did this, they may have had what motivated them or had to play a big role in it was maybe they weren't healthy. When you say there is no place in American society, and they also say plural, but if you notice, they arrested a woman. So what they're doing is implying that there's more than one person involved, but they don't say this. If the person, it's a possibility that the person was not healthy, and when you say there's no place, does that mean they're going to be in prison forever for this act? Does that mean the penalties, they need to be held to account, but what's the penalty? To remove them from society by death or imprisonment? That seems a little harsh to me. But the undertone is we have to stop hate. It's society's responsibility to stop hate. And it's really, well, what kind of hate? It's only certain kinds of hate that you're supposed to stop. A lot of people are being sort of indoctrinated, if you will, especially in our schools, to think, well, it's society's responsibility to stop hate. It's not individuals' responsibilities to control their emotions and to be tolerant of people. It's society's responsibility to do this, and that we're all in this together and that sort of thing. So the last example I have today of this wokeism, how it's just so prevalent in our culture. This is from News4Jack's television station. And this reads from Orlando, Florida, January 2022. Quote, more than a dozen self-proclaimed Nazis yelled anti-Semitic slogans outside a Florida shopping plaza and waved a swastika flag from a highway overpass before authorities broke them up over the weekend. In the research I've done about this, these people really are self-proclaimed Nazis, as I understand. The interesting thing about this particular article is to show you how the media uses this for their purposes and how they're complicit in aiding the Democrat Party. They quote local Democratic lawmakers said they were appalled by the demonstrations and urged Republican Governor Ron DeSantis to condemn the demonstrators. The government's spokeswoman, Christina Pushaw, said in a tweet that Democrats were insinuating that DeSantis' policies were responsible for the demonstration, which is what you saw in Canada. Justin Trudeau is smearing the opposing party and attaching the symbol of the swastika and the evil that it represents to people that had nothing to do with it. Ron DeSantis has not the idea that has any place in this story. Why this Associated Press article has to insert the politics into this is really indicative of how wokeism can be used for political purposes. I think people see right through this. There's a very funny scene in the movie Blues Brothers where there's a group of Nazis demonstrating. You know, at the time, I don't recall, of course there would be a news article about this, but I don't recall there being in the culture this idea that it was somehow my responsibility to stop these people from thinking that way. We sort of course, this movie was in it, I think it was 1980, 79, something like that. At the time, people didn't think that way. They basically just kind of wrote them off as, well, they're sort of kooky, really kooky people, if that's what they want to think, but they're really, really a small segment of society. But you hear Joe Biden using the word white supremacy to sort of show that this is commonplace. I've never seen a group of Nazis. I've never been recruited by a Nazi. I never heard of anyone that I know being recruited by a Nazi. This has to be a very, very small number of people. But to the media will smear the politician and then make this into something that has nothing to do with Ron DeSantis, has absolutely nothing to do with this, but he can't condemn them fast enough. He can't condemn them harshly enough. He can't condemn them correctly enough. So I think the public will eventually tire of all of this. For example, in Canada, I think it's likely that these leaders are voted out, that not only because their policies, which were really, people in Canada have really been suffering for a couple of years with the restrictions and so forth. And I think they're going to vote them out not only for that, but also for the tactics. These tactics are of way too far, and they do not apply to all protests. There are a lot of other protests, and Justin Trudeau would even participate in the protest. If it's a protest he doesn't agree with, it's a whole different matter. So that's how this wokeism is being used, and I'm trying to be a positive person and thinking that we're going to see near the end of it, because this is really a relatively new thing. As I was referring to, wokeism really didn't, I guess some form of it sort of existed before it had a name. It wasn't as prevalent as is in our society, and when we're teaching children that it's society's responsibility to stop hate, I just don't think that's going to work out, because it's impossible to control other people's thoughts and emotions. So that's my different take for today. I really appreciate your listening, and please check out the platforms that we're on, and please like, subscribe, share videos. Thank you.